Departure Lounge, Episode 5. Some things in life just aren't worth waiting that long for.
And
is it on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, it's on. Recording.
Yeah, it's recording. And occasionally when it get really fucking loud,
sometimes
talk like this.
It's really loud indeed.
And if I move back too far like this, then
do
this
a little
happens.
Stretch and then backwards stretch, kind of like.
But
I don't know.
If we're sort of talking into it over the top of it like this, then that might be better
forward,
as well.
like we got a serious point to make.
We'll
like
look each other in the eyes, and it's gonna be weird. Okay,
so
all right, let's test that.
all those things.
Let's test it. It's recording.
All right.
Yep.
Back at it.
So, it's been a while.
It's about a year, or
it's been exactly 1 year to the day.
Exactly? Really?
Yeah, it's been 1 year. I checked
How the hell do you know that?
Because I was a geek, and I checked the last time we posted something on the Departure Lounge.
Okay, so that's when it was posted. It's not like when we recorded, but okay.
Yeah, that's it.
But it is just
so
about
it's
a year.
hotly anticipated shit going on here.
All the people at home. Really
all the people playing at home were just waiting for this.
Yeah, my email box has just been full of like, where'd you guys go? And I don't know how they got my email because we never gave it.
No. It's not good to give out your personal details. You don't know who could chase you up, and since you've become like a massive deal because of this podcast,
right?
You could get some unwanted attention.
Exactly. So I've had to change my Gmail account and everything.
Yeah, shit. I've had to start wearing a fake moustache and dressing differently, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I had a kind of a day. Fridays usually are a kind of a day for me because I have a lot of classes to teach. I'm not going to try and sound like just a complaining fucking teacher droning on about it. But I had a couple of interesting situations today. One involving a WhatsApp group where all the Year 7 and 8 kids are in this group. And they think it's their private life, but it's called Year 7-8 WhatsApp chat group, okay?
Right.
Anyway, so they've started cyberbullying each other pretty hard. There's this one girl today who was called a whore, she was called a slut.
Right.
Another guy jumped in and said that she hasn't got any boobs or ass. Whether that's true or not is irrelevant. And it's,
I was going to say, well, is she a slut? Does she have boobs or
ass?
These
exactly.
are all things to take into consideration.
These are fucking questions I asked. I asked her. She pulled her aside. 3 girls came up to me. I was playing football. I just kicked 2 goals against a bunch of 12-year-olds, which I was doing really well.
Right.
I even just socked a fucking ball so hard that it warped in the air and went into a little girl's stomach, and she curled over in a ball. I just went over and said, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah," on the verge of crying. I'm like, that was wrong. Can't do that. Anyway, they come over and they tell me at lunchtime about what's going on. And apparently one of the boys has offered to send a dick pic to the group. And all the girls have jumped up in uproar and said, no, we don't want that. We don't want a dick pic, mate.
No one wants that.
No. So one of the girls said, just baited them a little bit, because the guys like, what, because because you want it so much, and So one of the girls kind of fought back. And... she said, well, what's there to see? If you send us a dick pic, it's not like you've got a big dick or anything like that. And then that was obviously funny. I thought it was.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
How do I know this? Because I've actually received a transcript of the file at the end of the day, but I'll get to that part. So I had the year 8s into a bit of a meeting, and I said, listen, guys, you've breached the rules yet again on these WhatsApp groups, chat groups. And they came back and said, well, it's our private business. And I said, absolutely, I don't think it is your private business. Where do we draw the line between issues that affect day-to-day life in school, people's self-esteem?
It's a group. It's a group. It's on the internet. Anything you do on the internet, you can't assume that it's private. And we've seen more of that recently, especially with Facebook. But we'll talk about that later. Exactly.
And there was another student issue which just made me laugh. So basically, this is what's going on in the Year 5's world. You've got this pretty shitty iPad game called Growtopia. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the game is fucking shit. It's 8-bit graphics. I don't think I would have even played it if I had the choice between that and the original Donkey Kong. It's that bad. And in the game, your goal is to basically just plant plants in the ground and grow them, and then you can sell these plants to make money, like real money.
Right.
Okay, so it's
for
actually...
whatever fucking reason, they somehow make money.
Yeah. So one of these games that is designed to sort of get kids addicted to the game and stuff like that, and then go and ask mummy and daddy for the credit card so they can buy some fucking seeds to plant in a digital game that they shouldn't be playing. So what happened was, right,
for digital money.
One of these kids in the class and a friend from another Turkish school managed to hack into their account and basically stole like, I think it's the equivalent of about 750 Turkish lira.
Pretty-
Actually, I think that's conservative. I think it's about 1,200 Turkish lira
They stole
of
my
crops.
crops.
But then converted.
Poor farmer.
Okay, so that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
The kids found out who it was. He got busted. They were about to have a big punch on in the parks and stuff like that. We stopped it. They explained what's happened, and we sat them down in the meeting in Mary's office and said, "Listen, what do you want out of this? We were like kind of like this is like a litigation going on here." They said, "Well, I tell you what. If you give back the plants, okay. If you give back the plants, there's no problem, okay." So he said, I can't. I've sold the plants. I've sold them for a couple of world passes. Don't ask what that is, okay?
That's another
so
thing, I
he
guess.
sold them for world passes, used the world passes, and now is onto a better level in the game, but he can't go back to the same level that they're at. So Dennis said, yes, you are. Yes, you can. There's a way to go back to the last level or something like that. And you can work on my digital farm, planting the seeds so you can pay off the debt.
You can be my digital
Which was
slave.
it was going to work on Maggie's farm and this digital game to pay Dennis back. Otherwise, he's going to get bashed. He said, I can't do that. I asked my mum. She said, I don't want to be spending 4 hours on the fucking game every night. Right? So he comes back to school. He comes back to school. He's still in the shit with the boys about these fucking crops that he's ripped. Okay. And so the parents get involved. The parents get involved and said, right, how much is it? And then had to tell his mum how much it is. She's come into the school and said, it's our fault for not stopping this game.
Oh, right.
Is that our... Stop fucking letting him
Pretty much
download games.
out of your purview,
nothing
yeah.
to do with
Wait
us.
a second, aren't you the parents where this is in the house? Like, aren't you the parents that own the house where this is happening in? Like, haven't you given him this computer to do this with?
Yeah.
But no, it's your fault.
No, it's the school's fucking fault.
It's
Of
the
course
school's
it is.
fault,
Of course
yeah.
it is. So that leads me on to into one of the topics I
Says a
wanted to
lot
talk
about
about.
those
So,
parents.
talking about digital rippers, I think Mark Zuckerberg, he's having a bit of a rough trot at the moment in trial for selling a whole bunch of data to Cambridge Analytics.
Selling data. Well, that and other things. I mean, he's basically he's a data farmer. He looks at people's data on Facebook as a natural resource that can be like extracted and sold to the highest bidders or for anyone that wants it. So I don't think actually, but for me, it doesn't bother me that much.
You have a problem with that? Like,
I always assumed it. Like, I don't know who went through and didn't know that was going on. To me, I mean, did you quit Facebook over this or
No, I didn't.
No, neither did I.
I used it to communicate to you today that we should do another podcast.
Yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't bother me so much because I kind of always assumed that's what was happening. Then there's the slippery slope of should it be regulated? How do you regulate it? And he went to before the Senate in the U.S., before the Congress, testifying, and basically it just turned into a bunch of old men in the Senate trying to learn what the fuck Facebook is and how it works.
That was the part I wanted to talk about. Some of these guys were like, so did you delete it? And he was like, sir, I'm not sure what you're talking about. You can't actually delete anything. It's not like a delete all button on the fucking internet, mate.
Done.
But
put it in your trash
he's
bin.
like, okay then, next question.
Yeah.
Senator from Utah, you got any questions? Yeah. What is Facebook? Does my book look like a goddamn face to you or something like that? What are you talking about, boy?
Yeah.
Next question.
Or just
But they didn't grill him, is what I'm saying. They didn't do their fucking job because...
they didn't do their research. They had no idea what it was.
Well, they also received considerable money from Zuckerberg as well. Not considerable money. We're talking 10,000 each, but some of them on that panel of judiciary had been paid off a little bit.
I have no idea. I haven't seen their books.
Just don't feel like that was a fair thing to happen. You know what I mean? But what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I mean, and then you wonder about it. What kind of manipulation can really be done with that information? And you can go on Facebook. You can actually download all the information that Facebook has, and you can see what it is. I read this article of this guy who did that, and he's like, I'm not even a heavy user. I just kind of go on. I don't post things. I don't send many messages. But he was still shocked to see that it had all of his contacts. If you've used Messenger, Facebook Messenger, it has all your contacts, all your phone numbers.
Yep.
Your emails, friends' emails. It has records of every person that you've deleted from your Facebook. It has where you've checked in. When you check in, locations.
So it's got locations. It's got patterns of movement into information. Sorry, I'm having a stroke there. It also tells you a lot about the consumer itself and a lot of private information, trends, likes, what kind of things, basically that smarter robot algorithms can develop and start shoving in people's faces. And that's,
right. Well, they can choose to target. Certain companies can say, well, this is my product. this is how I want to sell it or whatever, and then they can put it through a computer. They have, the information, and they'll say, oh, well, these are the people you should target based on this information. You should target, in the Philadelphia area, a 21-year-old male who, is in this much debt, prefers to drive this type of car or doesn't have a car. It's like very specific. All these very specific information tidbits that end up being targeted. And then I guess, so that's where it becomes, is it manipulation? Are you trying to, basically what you're trying to do, which is marketing. It is trying to manipulate people into buying your product.
But it could also be used for a more sinister purpose. And here goes Pringsy on the conspiracy angle.
I love it. Just bring it.
We know that robots and AI are getting smarter and smarter, and they're able to now teach themselves information, which is kind of like an interesting thing. So when you start to give all of this data, all of this behavior, this movement data, debt data, things like that, thinking data, effectively, what we're interested in, what we're not interested in, then you can start to develop AI that is able to very accurately predict things that we're going to be doing and
what
just
decisions
the type of
you'd
things
make,
that we want.
how you'd make decisions.
And sort of to start thinking like a human does. I mean, I'm sure that data is being used in some way for some reason like that. Not to mention all the other issues that brings up, like AI, automation and stuff. But we'll talk about that more later. But algorithms are fucked. We've spoken about this before. Yeah, I mean, so I think what's kind of happening is we're starting to have like a society where people are very much bound by the algorithm information that coming up in their news feeds. As people start to use things like Facebook more to look at news, they start to look at Instagram more, believe it or not.
Yeah, Instagram, which is owned by Facebook.
Which is owned by Facebook,
same thing. You're just the same thing.
Exactly. So all that information is the same kind of thing. And I think we start to see the same kind of articles coming up and up over and over again when that's linked to our Google Plus account and then the things that we're writing down in our emails.
Same
and stuff
advertisements.
like that.
Advertisements are things that you like clicked on in your email or whatever. It just knows. It knows what types of things, how to target advertisements for you.
Yeah, that's right. It's clickbait as well, and it's news clickbait. So it's not even really news. It's news that's designed to get a click, but it's kind of also like it's information that we are interpreting as real news and real journalism when it actually isn't.
What happened next? Like that kind of thing,
yeah, exactly. So what's kind of I was reading the other day is sort of happening is it's actually driving people further and further into their own information camps, well away from each other.
Info bubbles.
Yeah, that's right. And so we're starting to have like a situation where people are recycling and seeing the same kind of stuff over and over and over again. And it's moving us further and further apart. It's
confirmation
instead
bias.
Instead of leading to us understanding each other, which is making it a fuckload easier for these politicians to divide us and to obviously, I guess, collude information and to pass certain things without our awareness going on and stuff like that, or without the ability to have a dialogue about it, which is fucking dangerous.
Well, yeah, you click on one thing and the algorithm recognizes, all right, he clicked on that, he's interested in that, let's send him something that's kind of like that again, and then again, and again, and again, and eventually he doesn't get anything else and starts just kicking out the other information that might be against it or even not near it, and just keep forcing you down this hole of like, oh my god, this is, all the information out there is just the information that I'm looking for. It's like it's what you want. It's like the narrative that you're looking for is what you're going to end up finding on the internet, and you're going to keep finding that information, and you're not going to get other information that might help you make a better decision.
Or think differently about something. Exactly.
Right.
Like, and we got onto this topic because we had a bit of an argument the other day. Well, not an argument. You challenged me. You challenged me on... Basically, when this recent stuff with Syria happened, and obviously there was a very little investigation into this chemical attack, and then all of a sudden the Twitter sort of diplomacy starts up, and carriers gets Truman aircraft carrying a bunch of destroyers start
to the Red Sea suddenly,
shifting their asses towards Syria. But I didn't say that to you. I just came out and said, "Hey man, did you see the fucking latest false flag? That's fucked up, And you stopped me, and you're like, hang on, why do you call everything a fucking false flag? Well, that's just because within my own paradigm of thinking and the information trends that I look at, most of the stuff I'm probably looking at is similar in some way or another if I'm using a computer to find out about it.
You clicked on, that type of thing before, it shows up, you've liked something like that in Facebook, it shows up suddenly, suggested page, this.
So it's sending me further and further down my own paradigm and my own way of thinking about certain topics.
Do you get a lot of...
It's creating a super right and a super left, what I mean? It's like,
I notice it too, because I like different pages, and I get a lot of New York Times articles just come up on or the Atlantic, and these are like fairly liberal or, whatever you want to call them, I mean, this is not an attack or anything. Like, I don't think
that's right.
And I don't think that you get it all from just one place. That was one thing. I just threw out Russian news, RT news, whatever, Russian news. But I'm sure you get those up on your news feed, don't you?
I do. That's what I noticed today. I just noticed it was mostly RT news. I
never get RT
shit,
news.
I'm going further down my own rabbit hole.
Right. And it'll keep feeding
having
it to
a fucking conversation with myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. You're not convincing yourself anymore. I mean, yeah, you're convincing yourself to stay the way, but you're not challenging those things. And it's the same with me too, and anything. So I do try to.
But fair chance it, I'm not saying it definitely is a false flag. What I probably should have said was it deserved further investigation.
Oh, for sure. And I definitely would agree with that statement for sure.
I just find it really interesting. Why would Assad do this at this particular point when obviously withdrawals on the cards? You've almost won the war effectively, therefore. It's like, that would be a good time to launch a chemical attack and get Israel and fucking, USA's backs up over this stuff. And you raised a very valid point. Maybe this is what they want. We know that this war finances itself, and there's probably more things going on.
Yeah, maybe even Assad wants the US to stay.
Right, or maybe they're all in on it. It's just like, let's keep this fucking Syria party going. It's been going for 8 years. We've been having a great time.
Well, maybe Putin feels like, keep the US in Syria as well, because they're already in Afghanistan for 15 years and like Iraq for 12 or whatever. I don't know. It's both like 15 years, I think.
Yeah.
Forever. These forever wars. It's going to be forever wars.
It's just going on forever. It's not stopping.
But spread us thin and, makes America a bit weaker. You've got a fucking idiot as a president right now that has no idea how to navigate this.
His tweets are fucking
landscape.
Man, honestly.
Oh, he's
going to start tweeting about taking like amazing dumps or something like that soon. I think. He's drunk at the wheel, it seems. But yeah, I just find that crazy. And number two, why would you tell the world if you're Trump, okay, we're gonna send our fucking carrier fleet and you're gonna cop it. We're gonna send some smart bombs at you, some
smart,
really
in quotation marks, like
some
smart,
whatever technologically advanced bombs. They're coming your way in exactly 14 days, because it only takes 7 to fucking sail to the Mediterranean and then another 4 to deploy and all that sort of stuff. So we'll find out by probably about the same time I get this podcast mixed up and put out there whether or not anything happens, but I'm sure there won't be.
So apparently, with everything, this whole trade war that's going on with China as well, like people, you forget about like all the ridiculous stuff that's kind of going on. The raising of tariffs and China raising tariffs back and causing this trade war. So now, what Trump had done, he had taken us out of the Trans-Pacific Pact. Which, anyone, you can argue that was a good thing, you can argue it was a bad thing. I don't think he had any idea if it was or not. I just feel like he didn't like it because of Obama. That's my opinion on it. I don't think he has any information about it whatsoever. I think, plenty of people could say that it's a good thing, bad thing to leave it, whatever. I don't give a fuck. This China trade war now, he's now come back and said he's toying with the idea of rejoining the Trans-Pacific Pact, which is like, oh, great business move, man. Come from a position where you have leverage in the whole fucking thing, and then just like scratch it, and then come back later where you don't have the same leverage. What great fucking business sense,
Yeah, that's not good. It's kind of like a guy who sort of gets really pissed at a house party and then starts pinching other people's beers and says, fuck all y'all, I'm out of here. Peace, motherfuckers. I don't need you cunts anyway. I'm fucking out of here. And then you go to the park and you realise you got no money on your credit card, and you go back to the party and apologise to everybody. It's like, hey, but can I have a beer, please?
Get the fuck out of here.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
That's basically what the Australian finance minister, or whatever, something like that. He was like, we've already got an agreement in place. I don't see any reason for us to blow it up just to appease the United States.
Well, I'm glad Australia's starting to think that way.
Well, I hope they stay that way.
We normally just stroke America's dick in whatever regard.
I think why would you when you have like Trump is basically tweeting bullshit all the time? Like, there's no reason to take him seriously or take the U.S. seriously right now. Because 1 minute he's going to say something and the next he's going to change it. Like he left that pact. And they all decided, well, we're going to keep doing it and do it in the way that we want to. It's going to be their kind of pact against China. That was the whole point of it in the first place, was to have like some economic, balancing for those Pacific states, countries to have some more power against the Chinese economy. And Trump left it and then started a trade war with China, and then was like, oh, I should probably go back to that Pacific trade agreement.
He's not on the ball, that guy. He's definitely making some cowboy
decisions. It's all about image, keeping his image.
It is a little about image. I was going to talk a bit about the NBA. Have you seen what's happening with the heating up before the playoffs? A lot's been going
Which,
on.
I mean, it's already the playoffs, which kind of feels like...
How long does it start? 1 or 2 weeks?
It's this Saturday, I think, doesn't it?
I'm not sure. I thought they'd get like a week break or something like that.
I don't
Or
think
just
they
go
get a week
straight into
break,
it.
man. I think they just jump right into it. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't give
The
them a week
Houston
break.
Rockets don't need a week's break, man. They're just like, fuck it, bring it on now. We've been playing our strongest side for like the last,
Let
20
Curry stay,
games.
Injured, or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think the Warriors are going to be at a bit of a loss to find that extra gear if you have a fit, in-form Rockets.
Oh, of course, yeah, which is going to be the thing. That's going to be the Rockets' thing, because I've yet to see them do... I've yet to see James Harden do well in the playoffs. He's always faded away, and I've yet to see Chris Paul survive the playoffs without some injury in the third game or something in the first round.
Well, they're playing definitely positive basketball, positive management of the team, just about when you've seen every other side in the league rest somebody. I don't know if I've seen...
Oh, there's so much resting.
Was this normal? Was this happening like sort of 2 years ago? Maybe it has.
There's a lot of injuries this year, though, too. That's
but there's
thing.
a lot of guys that weren't that injured either, and they just decided to sort of bench them.
Yeah, maybe. You wonder how much
keep
Curry's
them up
really
for the playoffs. I don't know. I mean, Kawhi Leonard's one of these guys you got to talk about. Is that guy fucking injured, or is he waiting to be traded?
Well, speaking of weird misinformation and who knows what the fuck's going on
I don't know. Well, you said he takes information from his uncle. Is that right?
I guess his uncle is dealing with the business side of things, or like kind of managing him now, and
Right.
so.
But how the fuck can you like be in the NBA, be a top baller, have possibly be the third best player in the league, and you're still taking fucking orders from your uncle?
Right.
Do you have an uncle that's influential
maybe
in your life?
Well, maybe he thinks his uncle.
I'm sure his uncle's better than our uncle, and he's got more information than we do, and he's actually skilled at something. I don't think I have an uncle like that.
I don't know. Maybe. Nah.
No. It's just like I'm going to manage the rest of your career, even though you're the third best player in the NBA. I've got to wait and see what his uncle thinks.
Easily third, possibly second. Some people would say when he's fit, healthy, like because he's
fucking
defensive player, like best like defensive and offensive player.
He's amazing. So we don't know what's going to happen. Is he going to suddenly come back in the playoffs and the Spurs are all of a sudden in
I
contention?
don't know, what place are they in actually? Who are they even playing?
Like the seventh or eighth.
Yeah. So they just squeaked in.
Have to fact check that stuff.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it's definitely a weird situation because it was kind of like no one really knew what was going on, or seemed like he was just gonna ride out till the end of the season. Then he came back for a little bit, then left again for more of like this hamstring. He's got some hamstring issue or quadricep.
Yeah, I think it's a quad or something like that. But he's been cleared by the team doctors. He's had his own sort of team look at it. They've said, look, there is a concern. This guy does need to rest for a bit longer. I think it's a good idea in the pace of the league these days, not just to rely on team doctors necessarily going and trying to get their guys out there as quick as possible.
And
but this is the San Antonio Spurs we're talking about here. You know what I mean? They're not a dodgy organization.
No, they've always taken care of their players. Like no one would have a complaint that the Spurs were out for themselves and not taking care of the players. Like
exactly. So I mean,
you see that in like American football where they try pushing people out on the field where they got like serious injuries. They just give them some like cortisone in the knee.
What's the average like year playing time for an NFL player?
3 years is the average.
3
for,
years.
Like professional career.
3 fucking years. That's it.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of players that kind of it's like cannon fodder for like a war. You just send out your infantry and just like get mauled apart.
Just get mauled apart.
But if you're like a quarterback, you can last like 15 years, like a normal like.
Just not fucking long enough though, man. Like I don't know. I was watching this documentary the other night. It was called "Take Your Pills" on Netflix, and it was talking about this Adderall situation in the United States in college. But it was actually focusing on one of the main characters it was focusing on, or people, was this sports college football player who had to start taking Adderall basically to keep up with the recovery, because apparently it assists a bit with that, or something like that, or keep up with the pace of what was going on in his life at the time, the training, the focus. It definitely gives you an edge. I mean,
it wakes you up, but I mean, it gives you an edge, but at what it costs, over time.
Yeah. Well, it's
edge,
is it methamphetamine or is it a different type of amphetamine? I think I'm not sure.
It's some sort of amphetamine.
It's definitely an amphetamine. They're generally not good.
So
the doco was going into all this stuff about the college students. It's like to stay in the running, in the race, you've got to have popped an Adderall in the morning to
or if
to
you're
crunch
like
the study.
If you're like
get
a
the
day
results.
trader or like you're going to work because they fucking put you in the grinder when you go to work, like for an office or high stakes, like let's say finance and stuff. Like you should be at the office when you first start. When you come out of college, you're going to be there like 12 hours at least a day.
Yeah.
You know, and that keep you going, like keep you on your, on your game.
Yeah,
it's like,
just,
that movie
just
Limitless kind of thing. It's like the Limitless pill a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. This wonder drug that can make you just perform better and get the best exam results, everything. So it's become kind of like a status quo thing. I don't know how much it is or isn't. I mean, you might have more information than me on that one. But
I personally didn't have much experience with it. I didn't have many friends that were on it that I knew of. But I knew people. I mean, I took like Concerta or Ritalin once or twice when it was like finals time. Working on a paper. Or,
yeah.
Had to study for an exam, do an all-nighter.
I've done that before too.
Yeah, we
just
all
a little
have.
bit.
But I didn't know people that were doing it all the time, like to constantly.
Well, just day in, day out use, you know what I mean? That's kind of, that's going to get you after a while. You're absolutely right.
It fucks with your sleep. You're no longer having
fucks with your liver.
REM sleep. Yeah, liver.
Absolutely fucks your liver up
for sure.
as well.
Because you're drinking as well, probably.
Makes you a bit not yourself as well. Sort of takes you off the beat, the flow of conversations. You definitely know if you've ever been to parties or raves, if someone who's had a bit too much of this or that. It's
you get like these like lost time also. Like when you're doing it for a long time, you start losing
Psychosis.
time.
Yep.
Like you kind of just like black out, but just from it, and you might just be like, well, where am I? What happened? Like, you just did something on autopilot for like an hour or like 15 minutes or just like a couple minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Can't sleep properly. Can't eat properly if it's an amphetamine. You're not.
But it kind of makes you think, like, when we're moving into this age of automation and artificial intelligence. I was reading this article too that kind of like most of the jobs that we've got now are fully automated by 2025 or 2030, 2025 is a bit of a long shot. But it makes me think also, like, anything that gives you an advantage in life or in society, do you know what I mean? So like you could look at Adderall as being kind of like the future in terms of having a technological advancement in your body. You literally can't compete with other people that are out there that have got these advancements or using these kind of drugs and stuff like that.
Sure, man. Yeah, like get into like bionics and stuff, or
I don't think teaching could be automated. Do you?
I don't. I mean, it could. Anything could be, but like the quality of it wouldn't be as good. You could have something that tells you what to do and can check it structurally, and there's definitely a way that could be automated, but
so which
it
jobs
wouldn't
do you
have
think?
that human element to it that can make a teacher good, can make you excited, that can. Maybe. I have no idea how these programs would be.
It's an emotional job. Like, it's an emotional sort of any kind of job, I think, that deals explicitly with human emotions and the intricacies of human emotions. I think that's the last place that AI is going to get to at the end of it all.
I hope so.
I hope so. Otherwise, we are so fucked. So
Right.
I read this article, the top sort of 10 positions where they're going to be automated very soon. Anything involving banking and finance, basically. People aren't going in to see tellers anymore. They're not really going in to see...
Oh, right. Well, because algorithms could probably look at a stock and tell you if it's going to go up or down better than a human can.
But they do that now, don't they?
Okay,
They use
I think they do.
rely on
Yeah, I think a lot
algorithms
do,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. Exactly. They monitor it sort of remotely and stuff like that. Any kind of job where it's involving driving, because we're going to have self-driving cars pretty fucking soon, which could be a good thing. I don't know.
It's fine with me.
I'd be fucking sweet,
drinking
man.
all the time, yeah.
Oh yeah, alcohol consumption's gonna go up like a motherfucker. I'm gonna be like, just get the
It could be a
self-driving car.
renaissance of just like driving, like kind
Or
of.
it just could be a renaissance of partying, full stop, It's
Yeah.
just like, imagine if you had the self-driving cars out there. People would just be like banging on the windows, taking their pants, just mooning each other, but no one's driving the car. Going, hey, fuck yeah, man, he's gonna drive me home.
Until you spill that beer on like the main control panel.
Straight off the cliff.
road, yeah.
Yeah, and the doors lock, and then it's like, oh! Have to swim to the surface if you can, otherwise you die horribly and drown. That would suck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So I think any kind of job where it involves manual labour, that's going to probably go as well. It's kind of scary, man, that these time predictions are put on it all, that things are getting that much faster with all that sort of stuff. Well, we should be okay, hopefully.
We'll squeak by.
Yeah.
We'll squeak
Oh,
by.
we're going to have to get to the farm. We're going to have to build it soon, man.
Yeah.
You've been talking about
Get
that.
some automated farmers,
I don't think it's going to be it's going to be
I'll
an
start
organic
with-
farm, no robot farm.
I think I'll get some practice on Growtopia first, I'll get on there. Learn how to grow
Well,
my
the machines
crops
are going to
in
be
the
digitally ripping
digital
our
world.
plants if we're not careful, exactly. So yeah, you recently bought a van.
I did.
Yeah.
I did buy a van.
And, I thought you were just joking at the beginning. It's kind of like
I know.
first kind of big purchase recently, big kind of move.
You
Someone's-
totally didn't think I was going to do it.
No, I didn't. I just saw this thing on Facebook. It was just like this friend of ours, Sebastian, had just posted his van that he fucking loves this van. So, and he put it up there. I think the price was $28,000 or something like that.
Yeah. It's 1991
Yeah.
Volkswagen T4
And I just wrote in the comments under that.
Campervan.
I just wrote in the comments just quickly. It's like, hey, Brian, I think we should keep that in the family, you know, ha, ha, ha. Next thing I know, you've gone to the bank. You've gotten a fucking loan.
I told you, I was like, I'm already all over it, dude.
Explain that story. How did that sort of, you know...
Well...
What were you thinking, man?
What was I thinking? I don't know. I mean, well, it's probably the only... I really wasn't even thinking of getting a car anytime soon. I was basically thinking about investing in land or something here. You know, that was my thing that I was thinking about doing. But I also have this, like, since I was a kid, and my grandparents used to have this Volkswagen Westfalia T3 camper van, you know, with the pop top that pops up with the bed on top and little, like, burners on the bottom and, you know, refrigerator. It's basically a camper van that fits in a normal parking spot. And I always thought it was so cool. And then they got rid of it. My whole life, I just felt like I want something like that again. It was just, it seemed so practical, so easy. I mean, he said he was selling it. He had to sell it. He didn't want to sell it.
No, he didn't, which is it's always a good thing when somebody doesn't want to sell something. Why did he want to sell it again? He had some financial pressures going on or something?
Well, because for it to be, he brought it from Germany.
Some other needs, I mean, you know. No,
he brought it from Germany, and to have a foreigner car stay here, you need a special kind of license plate or plaka, or it's on a different level of jurisdiction or whatever. So for that, and to keep it here, as a foreigner, he wouldn't be able to sell it to a Turk either. That's the other thing. You need to have a work permit for it. Anyways, he lost his work permit, couldn't get another one, so he had to sell it, or else he's going to be paying fines like every month for a lot of money. So he's just like, I got to finally get rid of it. And I jumped on it, and I was like, I don't even know if I'm ready to financially do this. I have to
Is that
check
your
the bank
first
out.
like big ass purchase, 35,000 lira? You know.
Yeah, which is like
outlay.
It's not much, and other people probably in Australia or the U.S. who have already started the thing of buying a car or having a house, they're like, oh, that's it. Like you do the math, it's like $6,000, $7,000.
It's all relative.
It's more than $7,000, I guess, a bit. But yeah, it's my first real purchase, going to the bank, getting a loan, you know, figuring out how much I could pay a month, and I'm going to have it paid off in 2 years. Easy. Yeah, I just felt like it's something that I couldn't let someone else have.
Yeah.
I wanted it. I wanted it as a project also to, like, fix it up and keep it going. My main thing was if I can last for 10, 15 more years, it's an easy investment. I've already camped in it twice, and
the other thing, too, is in motor vehicles and stuff like that in... Turkey, they hold their value very well as well. You know?
Yeah, so and these ones tend to,
if you can have a good resale value.
If you look at some of the older versions, like you don't see much information about this year and model of camper van Volkswagen, but if you look at the ones before it, the T3s, there's people buying them for like $20,000, $30,000, and they're like old and just still somehow they hold the value. People love the Volkswagen camper vans and. Yeah. So I'm looking to keep it.
But it's like you said, it's like one of those life-giving purchases that you shouldn't have when you're fucking 60 or something like that. Do you know what I mean? That's your camper vans and stuff like that are usually something that we associate with retirees or people that are sort of coming to the end of their careers and they want to be able to move around and travel to, you know, the east coast to this and...
Or like people, like, there's some people, because I've been looking on the internet and, you know, there's like hashtag van life, hashtag whatever.
Yeah.
People doing it, and there are people that like give up their jobs.
Like,
no, it's true. People that give up their jobs and kind of do this online, whatever, blogging, whatever. They make their money online or doing other things and just kind of travel around in them. And it is like it is a lifestyle. Not one that I don't think I'm going to give up my teaching job and.
Don't be that guy.
Just kind of like hippie dipping it around. But it opens up all these opportunities. I mean, you can just pull to the side of the road and camp. I want to go out east over the summer and. It opens up a lot of things.
We had a pretty sick trip in mind. Go out to Şanlıurfa, check out Göbekli Tepe.
Oh, for sure. I want to camp.
See the ancient city of Mardin, which looks out over the Mesopotamian flats. You know what I mean? That's going to be a completely different sort of experience, man. I'd definitely like to join you on that one.
Mount Nemrut, and see
what's Mount Nemrut?
Mount Nemrut is like I think it's a man-made kind of hill mountain or like burial site for some king. It's the one that maybe you've seen like the big heads.
Yeah. I've seen it. Okay, so they're like Hittite or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Hittite.
We'll put a picture up in the podcast when it's up on YouTube so you can see it for the
big
people
heads
playing at home. Yeah, big heads and stuff like that. Big heads driving around in big vans to see big things.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. You've been using it a lot as well. It kind of like pays for your weekends, you know, and it's that getting out into the nature kind of vibe and sort of just that it's a life-giving purchase. doesn't lock you in too much.
It's
That's
interesting.
a good thing.
And driving it, I don't know what it always puts a smile on my face driving it. I don't know what it is. I feel like a giddy kid driving it. Like we're going out camp. I'm just like, I just feel good with this thing, and I don't. It's slow. It's actually not as slow as I was expecting, but it's like I like to drive it slow. I like to just get on the road. I'm going 80 kilometers per hour or whatever, and just like
Just chug along
cruising.
and just,
Yeah, let people go
check out
around
what's
me. Let
going
them
on.
like rush off to wherever the place that they don't want to be. Like I'll just go slowly and just get to the place where I already am. You know.
Yeah, and I like it how it's a bit higher up than the other cars. You can sort of just look into
I
people's
can
passenger
see around
windows.
everything, man. It's crazy.
You know, maybe there's like, I don't know, girl in a short skirt or something, or I mean, you know,
plenty of view. Yeah, it's
just saying stuff like
got
that.
the solar panel on top too. That
You can see some guy just sucking on his e-cigarette at the red light, just sort of you know, kind of just shaking his head. He's got the phone in his left hand. He's at a
there's
stage
lots
in his
of that.
life where he's not enjoying anything anymore. You can make up all kinds of narratives and little windows into things that are going on in other people's lives that aren't actually happening. But yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool.
yeah.
It's definitely working for you. I think that the thing that with the land purchase and then obviously putting down some kind of pension later on in life, that's something that I'm thinking about doing. I don't know,
Good.
any kind of idea like that where it's just not going to lock us in too fucking much financially, and you know, we can still live our lives in the meantime.
Well, if we become more, because actually buying this van has also been a good thing because it's gotten me closer with Sebastian. He's just a cool guy, you know. He's got his own thing going on, and he knows
Well, he's
what
like
he
just
wants.
organic mountain guy kind of thing.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
he's moved out of the city. He's got his own house. He's got a wife now, and like, he makes his own beer. He makes his own cheese. He makes his own bread. You know, he's just starting to like get like really, like he's where I want to get to. Also, get more in that sustainable track of doing your own shit.
Yeah.
He goes rock climbing all the time. Goes skiing. He's just an outdoorsman. So yeah, buying this van, and he's there always to help me with the project because.
Well, he's a person in your life that's giving you a model for how other things could be done and how you can live your
Right.
life in a different way.
And
You know what I mean?
he's even thought about it.
He's an
himself.
algorithm breaker.
Yeah,
he's
he's
you know,
outside the algorithm.
he's
Yeah,
outside
yeah.
your friendship algorithm.
Yeah, he's not not just feeding my confirmation bias, you know. He's thought about maybe pension or something, but because he knows the mountains out here really well, he's hiked around them all the time, and he does lots of rock climbing, so he could just have the pension, be like a guide or whatever, like make some money doing that, and you know it could be
pretty holistic way of living.
Solid, yeah. I mean, I really like it.
It's really interesting having my I've actually got my family over here at the moment. That's a recent development. They're algorithm breakers for me because I haven't had much sort of contact with home for a while. So it was good to have my sister and her husband come over here. And yeah, you know, as expected, they're absolutely loving life here. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're earning Australian dollars. They're doing some sort of online work, which really kind of pisses me off actually, because it's kind of like what we should be doing. And they've just unlocked all of this extra time. But with the extra time comes sort of some of the extra problems. Like they're not used to sort of breaking out of this very quick lifestyle in Melbourne. They're not kind of. I sense that they're not 100% used to sort of having quite this much time.
Well, I think your sister,
You know what I mean? Because everyone in Melbourne's just running on fucking momentum, man.
Right.
They're running on sheer momentum. They're exhausted, but they don't know it. And you know, pretty soon you can just sort of bowl along without having actually changed direction or having some time to really think. So, which is why I really respect their decision to come over here and do this.
Oh, for sure. Not waiting, you know, it's another one of those things. It's kind of like, you know, you don't wait to have some sort of thing that you say you'll do during retirement, because who knows if you're going to have that or like whatever.
Dude, I mean, the way things are going, do you think we're going to reach retirement? You know, what is retirement? The point where you don't have to earn any more money? That's definitely not you, me, or most of the people I know.
We have
you know
no,
what
I mean, I have no real savings when it really comes down to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got the pension here in Turkey. That's if I stay here. I mean, and that's only going to be whatever it is. You know, it's going to be like 2/3 of what I make now.
But I think it's okay to start sort of laying down some real estate or just thinking about buying purchases like the one you did that doesn't lose too much money, that give you different options and things and outlets while you're in this place, but don't lock you down. I mean, I realised that if I had to go back to Australia and buy a house, I'd have to stay in Australia and earn Australian dollars until I'm fucking 70.
Yeah, you couldn't come back here and keep
No,
paying
I
that
couldn't
loan.
come back to the country that my wife is from. I couldn't, move around and consider other options. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot to not locking yourself in when you already started your life overseas and got pretty well set up over here. But I think we've gotten this far into the fucking podcast, and we haven't mentioned that there's another guy who's you haven't heard from the entire time.
Tamer.
Yeah, Tamer. Has not been in the bathroom wrangling a turd this entire time. He's actually not fucking here anymore. He's decided to up and leave. And let's talk about that for a little bit. I mean, it's tough when people leave, man. You know, show's got to go on, but
it's happened a lot.
It happens a lot.
I mean, I can count. I mean, with him being one of them, at least 3, like with him being one, including him, 3 best friends have left since I've been here. I've been here 9 years, but
yeah,
you know, we had Emmett, we had Phil. They both left at the same time, so it was kind of like a double.
Yeah, that was a double hit.
Yeah, but then then Tamer came, and you were already here, so we stuck it out, and it ends up being fine. But it does happen quite a bit that something happens. Like Emmett would have stayed here had things not fallen through with his job, and
yeah. I'm sure Jesse would have stayed here maybe a bit longer.
Oh yeah, Jesse also also another good friend.
If certain things weren't happening,
sure,
maybe. We'd still have Jasmine, but I mean, you can never sort of say one thing or another. We don't know how things would have worked out for those guys. But Tamer leaving, that's definitely hurt for me. I've lost a really good friend. I haven't lost him; he's not dead or anything. I can just call him right now on fucking Facebook call, which we might try and do in a minute if his green dot comes up next to his name.
Oh, his name is Tamer Not Here now.
It's called Tamer Not Here. It's literally about what we're doing here. He's not here. Oh, there he is. He just popped up there. Oh, really? So I'm going to put in a call to Tamer. And we're going to see whether or not we can get this guy on the podcast digitally from Canada. And he just responded, "Hey, mate, I'm not home." And I'm guessing he's out on the slope skiing because he's too busy to do podcasts now.
Yeah.
No,
Too busy.
Too cool for the podcast. Okay,
well,
buddy.
that's one way,
Just joking.
Everyone has to kind of follow what they feel like is going to be the best thing for them.
Absolutely.
I personally wouldn't move to Canada from here right now. I mean, possibly could happen at some point, but I mean, he's a skier, snowboarder, and he likes the snow. Yeah. He likes mountains. He's been to Canada before. He already had friends. He wasn't feeling like he was doing what he wanted to do here. He felt like he was limited in his choices for work, and
that's it. The Antalya, I guess the Antalya matrix, or the matrix of living in a country like this, where there's only very specific occupations that you can hold onto a work permit for,
right?
Or get value from. You know what I mean?
English teacher is the one. If you want to be a foreigner and work here, it's English
pretty much.
teacher.
That's all you do.
Everything else is basically they won't hire you.
Yeah, and I mean,
have to hire
the guy did, to his credit, try absolutely everything before he pulled the pin and said, "All right, listen, this isn't working. It's not working for my headspace. It's not working for my happiness, and it's certainly not working for my partner."
He didn't want to teach kids. He didn't want to do that. He didn't like it, and why force yourself to do it just to stay in a place that, I mean, he loves it here. He does.
Yeah,
but
he didn't like the hangovers. I think he's trying to sort of put up a good fight over there, and he's not drinking too much. And he's, poor little Tame, his liver couldn't handle it very often. But
good,
leave it to the big boys, buddy. And yeah. Oh no, he says he'll be a few minutes, so he might jump on the podcast. We can ask him some of these questions himself in person. But look, I do respect his decision. He got to sort of a gridlock. He got to a crossroads where it was like, I think the choice was, if he stays here and kind of doesn't move forward in his own life, he wasn't able to find a job that he loved. He obviously didn't want to plunge his time and efforts and energy into teaching. It's not a profession that he wanted to do.
Right.
He tried to start his own business. That didn't work because suddenly the coup happened. Financial situation over here changed dramatically, being a tourist city. Mm-hmm. So he kind of had to dig deep and make a decision. It's just like, obviously his wife, Nur, she's from here as well. She was looking for new experiences too.
Yeah, she's excited to go.
Yeah.
She'd never been on a plane, she told me, when she went to
really?
Canada.
Yeah,
I think.
She was over here having a couple of wines the night before she left. And I was like, hey, you might want to just, slow down on that because, you got to be flying for 16 hours. Or not. Just continue.
Or not, you keep going on the free booze on the...
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And, so I think he absolutely did the right thing. If he'd stayed here, his happiness would have faded. And if I may say this, speak on his behalf, perhaps his relationship, and definitely know that he was doing this as much for his wife.
Well,
as
anytime that
you're
in a situation, anytime you're in a situation where you're not happy and you can't do, like, you're in a relationship with someone, it's gonna affect them because you share. Relationship is about sharing, all right? So you're going to share
and now we're
the good times and the bad times.
When we talk about relationships,
yeah, this is where I get my my knitting, cap on. And
that's they're difficult things at the best of times, and so all the best to Tamer. He's not here. Hopefully the podcast is holding up without him on the other end. Of course, we don't want to lose all of his listeners that he brought to the table. Listen, this
Direct
podcast
shout-out.
could, in fact, be going better without him. It's possible as well. So let's stay tuned and see if that happens or not.
Yeah, you can, please leave your comments below about all
exactly.
two of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of been facing a similar thing. Like you were thinking about Elif, obviously has to go, your significant other.
Right.
She's reached a point in her studies where she needs to kind of extend and look at doing some tertiary studies.
She's
elsewhere.
graduating her, what do you call it? I guess just your normal degree, basic degree.
Yeah, undergraduate.
Undergraduate. I couldn't think of undergraduate.
That's
I'm
all right.
retarded. Yeah, and she's she's looking to do postgraduate work, and she doesn't want to do it here in Turkey because she feels like, at least here in Antalya, because she knows the people that work there, and she's not happy with the professors. She's had all sorts of problems, but whatever. She's a hard worker. She's smart. She wants something better, so she's looking to go to perhaps a European university like in Germany where it's free to go for foreigners to go. I could go there and have it free.
Yeah, makes sense. I had a couple of buddies back in Australia who took that option actually. Tom Betts and Chris Chambers, if you're out there, word up.
Where'd they go?
I think they went to Hamburg. I think.
Oh, okay.
And they did a masters there, and it was very fucking cheap compared to the education.
Right. I mean, you just have to pay.
options.
You just have to pay for your living costs.
Good old
and
progressive
stuff.
Europe, education for the right reasons, accessible to many, not just the super rich or the ones that are living with their parents or whatnot.
Right.
Anyway, back to what she's trying to do. Yeah.
So with her doing that, and with us being serious about our relationship, it would mean I would be going there with her. I mean, long distance relationships. Let's face it. I mean, that's
not gonna work.
Telling
you right
wouldn't
now.
work. Wouldn't work. I know myself. I know
Yeah.
her. I mean, that's stupid.
You're a fidgety cunt. Let's put it in certain ways. Not saying you're unreliable in any way, Brian. I'm not.
No.
I'm saying the first night you'd go out there and but
but it wouldn't. I mean, whatever. She knows that as well. I know it. And plus, I wouldn't want to be apart from her for that long. I mean, she is my best friend.
Exactly. If you love her, you got to be close with her, and that's the thing.
But
that may have you tossing up a big move again.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I mean. Like, so now I have to contemplate the whole move to Germany thing, which I wasn't thinking of leaving Antalya any real time soon.
Well, lucky you didn't buy a house or something, man. Or maybe if you did.
We could have just bought it.
Euros or something.
Well, that's what she says. Like, if I get a job, which I'm looking at teaching jobs in Germany, making some euros, be able to pay off things here pretty easily. Live a stout life in Germany, not doing too much crazy, but I can bring the van up there. I mean, I'm excited at the prospect.
But new experience, man.
Not excited about like
Packing up the house
packing up the things the things.
Well, look, we're
things,
pretty
and
comfortable
leaving the
here.
job that I have, and I'm really comfortable with my job. I've been there for 8 years. To leave, like it kind of, I've established myself there. They love me there. It's kind of like I know what that is. So
you've completed this level, and maybe it's time for another level.
Antalya, man, it really is one of those rare cities in the world where we've talked about it a million times. You guys don't need to hear it anymore. But mountains, sea.
Just another plug for
weather,
Antalya tourism. Get down here.
Yeah.
A place you can stay. Brian
really
might have a whole empty house you can rent from him pretty soon.
Unbelievable and easy. And if I want, and also back to the van a little bit, but when I want to like reupholster the van, it's so goddamn cheap here compared to like if we went to Germany.
Yeah.
Somewhere else, Jesus, I could get that inside all pimped out, nice.
You could.
And then sell it in Germany and make a fucking mint, make like money off that. I don't want to because I love the van, but
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not going to be as difficult as you think, and Antalya is not one of those places that's too difficult to come back and slot into as well. So
no.
Just spare that in mind.
Here is
Might just be 2 years. You do your thing, and it gets too fucking cold. You're dropping beers in minus 10-degree temperature on the street outside bars, and it's like, fuck this.
I mean, she gets her master's as long as she finishes on time. Then we get out of there. I don't think we're gonna plan on staying there beyond her master's. It's to go get the master's.
Come back. Start making some money.
Yeah, summer holidays, do some van trips in Europe.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. There's plenty of positives to it. I can be lazy, hard to get to move, and I'm not sure.
What is it? Uncomfortability equals expansion, Brian, and that's something that sometimes Antalya is just easy street for us,
Let's jump outside.
Well, I mean, we do represent a couple of guys here. We didn't have that many problems. I mean, so it was easy for us to stay here and continue doing what we're doing. For a lot of people that come here, that's not always the case. Relationship issues, that's always a big one. definitely job satisfaction is another one, and just making enough money, you know what I mean? Or coming here at an age when, you know, you're ready to sort of lay down some time in a place for a while. They're all three things, but, you know, you don't seem scared by the idea at all, which is good, you know?
No.
You're not that uncomfortable with the idea?
I feel more inconvenienced by the idea of just, you know, having to move and think about, like, because I just bought this goddamn van and it's registered and everything here and all the shit that I had to do to get it. I'm gonna have to go through in reverse to take it out of here.
Just have 2 number plates on it.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Well, I think right about now on the podcast, we're going to play a tune. This is my massive summer jam.
I gotta
just a little plug for me and Brian's summer playlist. It's called Brian and Tim's Summer Jam. It's on Spotify.
If you can
Brian
find it.
loves it. In fact, all the tracks that have been added to it, except for about 12, have been by him.
It's about 80%.
He fucking loves it. And this is the track that I like to sit at my back table, stare at the ocean, crack a can in 38 to 45 degree temperature, wearing shorts, dripping in a little pool of my own sweat, occasionally scratching my nuts, and contemplating life and appreciating everything that I've got in my life, and just being really grateful. I'm grateful for my beautiful wife. I'm grateful for this view. I'm grateful for that cool summer breeze. I'm grateful for the interesting people walking past in their activewear. I'm happy about that dog playing in the park, and so many other boring things which I won't rattle off now. Here is the tune, Running in the Night.
I used to be the one. I used to be your getaway dreamer. I couldn't get enough, thinking that we would last forever. Don't know what you're thinking of, slipping further out of reach, to the edge of town we could go, away from all the world to see. You were wild, trying to set yourself free. I didn't see the signs right in front of me. Oh, I'm running in the night so soon. I've got nothing left to lose. I'm leaving it all behind. Running in the night with you. I won't let you get away again. We can see it through till the end. But whatever we do, I'm running in the night with you. I used to be the one. I used to be your place to land, under the shadows, into the palm of my hand. You're always changing that situation, just when we found paradise. You're always shutting down my conversation. I can never read your mind. Oh, I'm running in the night so soon. I've got nothing left to lose. I'm leaving it all behind. Running in the night with you. I won't let you get away again. We can see it through till the end. But whatever we do, I'm running in the night with you. I used to be the one. I used to be your getaway dreamer. I couldn't get enough, thinking that we would last forever. I'm running in the night so soon. I've got nothing left to lose. I'm leaving it all behind.
tune. Amazing track. Running the Night, FM 84. Seriously, get onto it, people. It is fucking fantastic music. Thanks to Brian McPhee's late night algorithmic YouTube searches after being awake at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. It did amount to something, thank God. Okay, well, yeah, it's come to that time in the podcast. We've got to the second half. We've had a few drinks. We're probably going to flow and roll a little bit better here. And I've just put the JBL flip on, and I've put it over back where Tamer used to sit in that third empty chair across the table. And we happen to have him right here on the podcast. I sound like a presenter for some reason, don't I?
Really?
Yeah, Tamer's here. Here he is. So, mate, what's been happening over there?
Oh, well, this time around, just like all the other podcasts, I'm just on the coffee because it's 10:30 in the morning over here. I've got work in a few hours, so I'm not quite on the cans this time. But, yeah, everything's going all right over here in Canada.
Yeah, well, it was never any different anyway,
still a bit
man. Like
snowy
we
out,
were sort of like 3 or 4 drinks in, and you were sort of stone cold sober, and that's why I think this podcast had much more of a balance to what's about to take place in the next hour. Cool, man. So yeah, life in Canada, the move. We spoke a bit just before on the podcast on your behalf. We just said that we thought you made a great move. It was a pretty ballsy decision. We know that it was not an easy decision to make, leaving here, and all the other stuff that we've spoken about on the other 3 podcasts, 4 or so. We did always talk a lot about, I guess, how satisfied we are in our life and some of the things that we're scared of doing. And I think one of the things that I spoke about once was the idea of, or the prospect of leaving here, which I still think would be incredibly difficult. So now we get to talk to somebody who's done it. And yeah, man, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's not really that easy because it does take a fair few things, like, mentally, emotionally, to be able to step away from everything that you know and the people and the comforts and whatnot. And it's not just, a single decision. It's a whole procession of things that you need to put in place and planning and whatnot. It's not just jumping on a plane like you would on a holiday, land at the other space and, you're good to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes a fair bit of balls to do it. You've got to be pretty committed to it. A lot of people have the idea of it's been like, I'd like to do this, like to go there, but it comes down to, I guess, putting in the hard yards and actually making it happen. So
can I sort of interview you just a little bit for a second? So, I mean, can you talk about some of the fears that you had sort of prior to going, and if you want to talk about why you decided to leave?
The main reason why I had to go, well, there was a couple, because originally I'd always planned on going and leaving Antalya eventually, but probably the biggest one was that I was kind of in a pretty deep rut where I didn't have a lot going on for myself that really gave myself a sense of purpose in terms of, having a work, a job that I can do, have enough money coming in that I actually enjoy or feel like it's worthwhile working for. And then also on top of that, to be able to make the, the juice worth the squeeze is having a lifestyle that kind of suits what I want in terms of my own enjoyment, my own progression, which I get when I'm, outdoors and pushing myself and getting better at snowboarding and all of that kind of different stuff, having come from such a background of sports and outdoors where there wasn't kind of enough, people and infrastructure and opportunity in those kind of areas to make it worthwhile having this kind of time where a lot of it's not really work and not having a lot of money. If I was in the middle of all of that, then there would have been at least something to keep me going. But I didn't really have a lot going for me at that time. So I kind of had to get myself to a place where I could find that.
The Antalya door is always open for you, so like that's pretty easy. You're not like, you didn't exactly like leave completely, uproot yourself, because I mean your father's here, and it's always the option to come back. Yeah. So I imagine that you felt it's now or never, do something different or get stuck in some rut,
Yeah, and I was just going to sort of follow on from that, man. I hope you don't mind. You don't have to answer this, but it's a bit of a personal question. I've got a couple of friends in Australia that are about to embark on heading overseas, and they did end up in that kind of same rut that you're speaking of, but just in different ways.
Okay.
Scotty's one of those guys of mine, friends of mine, that's, he's just felt he was capable of doing a lot more, and he had a lot more adventure and times to live and stuff like that. But can you just sort of reflect on, what do you think after having sort of gone through it a bit, when you lose sort of inspiration and lose your ability to sort of find your centre and your outlets in the place that you're in, does that start to have an effect on your relationship with yourself and the people around you?
Oh, for sure. Now that I'm about, 5, getting close to 6 months in over here, where I've kind of adjusted and settled and I've been able to put everything back in place that I really wanted in my life, compared to who I was a year or so ago, which was, not just being in a rut in terms of not having things to do, but I guess emotionally and the way that I deal and interact with people and all this, massive bearing that it has from so many angles. Yeah, it really does kind of weigh you down, and you kind of lose a lot of that optimism and promise and energy and excitement and easygoing and all of that stuff that you would normally have as part of your, the character and who you call yourself and the better part of who you are. It's really hard to maintain that when you don't have enough going on and building up around you to keep you up. So it makes a big difference in that way. Found it a lot harder in the last year or so when I was in Antalya to even, get around and hang out with my mates, just because I, just wasn't feeling good about how things are and feeling good about myself and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely rubs off in different ways.
It's inertia, Inertia works both ways, it can either you keep going because you have the inertia that you're doing things and it keeps you moving, or you have the inertia where you're just kind of standing still and just can't get yourself to do anything because it's just well, what's the point? Or you're stuck in one place. You feel it's easy to fall down a wormhole of negativity and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I guess also when you've tried so many different things, when you've really truly pushed yourself to try everything, and you can be honest with yourself and say, hey, this what I've been doing just isn't working. I've literally tried everything. I guess that's the final stage where it's not really about you, maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe it's about you. Well, it is about you at the same time, but it's a lot to do with the place and the restrictions that place is placing upon you, allowing you to find that place inside yourself where you can be the best you can be.
Oh, for sure. Well, yeah, that's one of the things. Whenever you are in a kind of situation like this, you've always got to try and come up with different ideas and try and fight your way out of it and see what you can kind of create, rather than just giving up straight away or trying to look for answers elsewhere when you might be able to have the answers yourself. But it's also disheartening when you're putting a lot of effort and trying to do all these different things and it's just not kind of hitting the mark.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of, life kind of works in momentum sometimes, either in a positive way or a negative way. When you're doing good positive things and you're in a place around good people and you've got things that you can do, you can keep building and get better, and that's how people become really successful. Otherwise, it can also happen in another way where if you start getting negative and feeling down about stuff, it rubs onto other things, and maybe you're not doing the same job and passion at work, you start to lose your job. The momentum can shift different ways, so you got to find a way to turn that momentum around.
And it also affects the story that you give yourself as well, the story of who you are and how everything's going and in which direction and stuff like that. When that suddenly changes, and I mean, it's certainly not a bad thing to address the other side of the yin-yang symbol and spend some time in a bit of a dark, uncomfortable place, because you can definitely learn a fuckload about yourself, but you don't want to get stuck there, and you want to get out of that place and use that momentum for something positive in the other half of the footy field.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really valuable, especially a lot of those times that are a little bit harder, because by the time you get motivated to step out and turn it around, it means that you really do appreciate and you're really going at this next step with a lot more kind of grunt and a lot more purpose than you would if you're just cruising from something positive and easy and then moving aside to something else just for shits and giggles, rather than out of a real drive.
Right.
Coming into band 30 last year, I was definitely in that situation where it's just this can't be the end, this can't be what my story is or just who I am. So yeah, coming out of that and into this one, I know that I kind of needed that to make the most of what I'm doing now, and I'm feeling pretty good for being here. What
were some of the biggest hiccups that you hit when moving to Canada? So it was you came from Antalya and you had there are obviously things that you had to do to come here, but it was probably kind of easy to just at least move here and at least live here at first. I imagine moving to Canada, someplace that people would consider like a first world country or a developed country where they have more visa restrictions or not. Actually, you can explain that part.
Yeah.
How was that? What were the things that you hit that you found were like, oh shit, that was a roadblock I wasn't expecting? Or
coming back here, it was quite easy once I managed to get all the things in place, as in renewing my passport, getting the visa and the flights and whatnot under a fair bit of financial stress. Coming actually over here, it's worked out pretty well because I'm going from a place where it was difficult and I couldn't find information or really talk to people that much with the language barriers, cultural barriers, opportunity barriers and whatnot. To come over here, I'm able to just come straight into a place where I fit in and I know the landscape in terms of more general landscape and also how the people work and how businesses work and everything like that. So I was able to organise a job here and contact people, know the lay of the land and whatnot. So in terms of coming back over here, it was almost the same as if I was going to Australia.
Well, I'd imagine, I mean,
it just feels like it's easy. It's kind of easy. It's got a home feel to it. And not just in where I am, but also in just the way that it works with the way that I've grown up. So it's made it really easy. The thing that's been the hardest has been the first few months when I was over here and the uncertainty around my wife's visa situation of what visa she can or can't get, what steps I might need to take. So luckily it's managed to work out where we ended up getting the easiest, quickest, cheapest way happening, but it wasn't the likely one in my eyes because there wasn't any real kind of blueprint for people that come from different countries. There isn't really a straight up blueprint for how to get a visa and whether it's going to be successful or not.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, so those first few months I was here and things were going all right, but I wasn't sure that if this first visa application got rejected, then I might need to get back into my old kind of jobs of working on a computer in the city doing oil and gas drafting, or whether I would need to try and get a sponsorship to work on some ski hill out in buttfuck nowhere, halfway up in the north.
Well, we were surprised by how
Canada.
We were like surprised by how quickly she got the visa. Actually, I remember seeing her over the January break and seeing her for like the going away party, and it was just like, holy shit! I didn't realize she got it within. It was like you had just left like 2 months before. And everything kind of everything kind of fell into place. I mean, I guess that's Canada. If it were the U.S., there was no way.
I was so pissed off, man. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, I'm pissed off in a good way. I was happy for her, but at the same time, I was just like, fucking hell, look how easy that was.
Yeah.
And look at the fucking bullshit the Australian government's putting me through at the moment. I mean, my wife, of course. Holy shit, we had to send through Facebook photos, we had to send through wedding invitations, we had to prove the nature of our relationship. Obviously, it's a different kind of visa, but I still think if going through a permanent visa situation, Canada would probably be fucking easier than Australia by the sound of things.
Yeah, well, that's what it seems like. And even when we start to do our residency application, we've got to do a couple of English tests, and I've got to transfer over a few of my, education like documents and whatnot. But it's like do the couple of processes and wait and see. But it's not going to be as strenuous. But also a while ago, when I was looking at maybe moving to Australia, or at least working and traveling Australia with my wife, just so that she can meet the family and see some stuff and make it a more viable trip. There isn't any of those opportunities to just get like a working holiday visa like my wife and me are on at the moment here for Australia. It would have had to be, we would need to do the same as what you and Nursuch are doing, which is that massive grind, even if we just wanted to go there for a few months and just do a little bit of work.
I was going to say that to you, man. Like, do you feel like going back to Banff, you said there's familiarity, but there's also all of the outlets and stuff that you need to sort of spread your wings and make yourself happy. Do you feel like this could also become a place where when the shine off the ball, so to speak, comes off, that it could start to become normal again?
I reckon there will be some kind of aspect of that, but I think when you're kind of focusing on just the place and letting the place do a lot of the work and the freshness and newness of a place do the work for you, of course that's going to kind of, like the shine's going to come off the ball a bit, but as long as you're kind of doing things in your own life that are meaningful and progressing, then it doesn't really matter that much. Because, when you grow up in Melbourne or America or wherever it is, you grow up there and you're used to it and you're not really focused on what the city and town and stuff is around you. It's kind of just like the backdrop of what your life is, which is what I think is going to eventually happen here, which is why we're going hiking, going snowboarding, looking at job opportunities and stuff. Once we get residency, we'll buy and deck out a van properly, and if we want, we can go and travel. And
would you say that a lot of these things are also to do with being able to finance it?
Yeah, for sure. I've noticed that even though when we both come over here, so me and my wife, we kind of both started off on what is primarily a minimum wage in Canada, right? And so we're living in the middle of the mountains in Canada, snowboarding, living in like a nice enough house and having access to all these outdoor activities and on a basic lowest wage, and we're still not strapped at all for cash. Like, it's a little bit tight to start off with, of course, with all the adjustments and a couple of things that you got to buy and organize and whatnot. But having like a solid, good, decent paycheck coming in pretty much every single week, it's just taken a lot of pressure off. And that's knowing that that's just off the very start of where we are at and at the very lowest that we can earn. And so it's really positive thinking to the future when it's just going to become easier and easier and better and better.
Yeah. That was an excellent response as well. Like, this is something I was going to ask you. Like, remember I said to you, you were doing that blog for a while. I don't know if you're still doing it anymore, but Taming the Life and stuff like that. You've probably got a lot more other things to do now, having more of a committed job situation. But I guess, and you get to sort of say whatever you want now here because you're not here anymore. You've still got to be careful though. But what would you say? What would you say?
Yeah, be careful for us, not for yourself.
What would you say? What would be Tamer's sort of rules or ideas for somebody who might be naively moving here and falling in love with the mountains and everything? What would be something that you'd say to the next Tamer that's coming to Antalya?
Okay, a few of them would be make sure that you're all right financially, like when you get there, but then also you got to make sure that you have a decent job set up or professional kind of prospects. And not one that's just reliant on like an individual situation or circumstance or school or whatnot, because knowing how unreliable some of the people and some of the companies can be, you've got to be open and accepting to the fact that you might stop getting paid, you might lose a job, company may change, rules may change, you may be out of a job for a bit of time where you want to have a good, back pocket full of money that can see you through, and then also be able to potentially have a resume that can step you into another position there. So yeah, be financially set up for a lot to be able to change.
And of course, I mean, I'm going to jump in. I mean, you've got your next one. You're going to say number 2, but I've already cut you off because it's our podcast. That's what I do. I was going to say also, how big an importance do you place on having a purpose in Antalya? What does purpose mean exactly to you?
Yeah, I guess there's got to be a real reason to be there, because when you've got the mountains and the ocean and everything around you, it's easy to get distracted and just to let that kind of sit in the background and rest on your laurels, I guess. But after a while, it kind of wears off, and it is quite difficult to live in a place like that where things get difficult, people around you leave and whatnot. So you got to keep a pretty good core and foundation of the life that you're living there, and a reason to be able to push through all the difficulties that you're going to come across.
So not just existing in a place, but having a secondary underlying motivational reason that's about you and perhaps a passion or something that you need to pursue. That I think that psychological place is a very fucking important place. And this goes out to a couple of my mates who are thinking about making a huge move. One of them's flying out in 2 days to do the exact same thing. My message to him was the other night, and I had a couple of red wines, so it was quite a long message. But a good deal of the message was to do with
a Tim drop.
When it gets hard, when it gets difficult, and it will get lonely and difficult if you're going on your own at this age, having a purpose or having a secondary reason, or at least something to occupy your time, or something that is bigger than you to focus on, is going to get you a long fucking way through those doldrums.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially when you don't have that family and friends and all the familiarities around you that you would have, back home or wherever that is. Yeah, you got to have something pretty solid to see you through, because that's how you get a lot of people that do this original move overseas. Whether it's an Australian moving to London when they're in their early 20s, they're there, they're taking a lot of Instagram photos and whatnot, and once you get a few months in, it becomes a bit more difficult. The place around you isn't like a holiday anymore. You don't have a real purpose or real reason to be there. If you're there for a proper job and career, or you've got your good friends over there, or you've got something that's going on that's pretty strong and solid.
A byproduct of that too, which could be quite harmful, is that you get a bit fucking lax on your self-discipline. You can start partying too much. You can start sort of going back into places that you know well.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. I think Antalya can out-party you. And we're not just talking about Antalya here. This podcast, now that we know this option of having Tamer on the JBL speaker, that it works, a big thing that we talk about is how this relates to other experiences in other places, and possibly are there any sort of crossovers. So that's why it's awesome to talk to you, having lived here and now going back to Banff, to sort of uncover some of those untruths and perhaps some of the thoughts that were unnecessary. Like, I still have a bunch of fears myself. the only way to sort those fears out and know which ones are real and which ones are just sort of in my head is to do it. And so, yeah.
Yep.
Cool, man. So what would be your other rules
Yeah, sure.
for the coming expat?
I reckon a pretty important one is to be able to be comfortable spending a lot of time on your own and being able to do things on your own.
Being
Quite a few
comfortable,
people are really in a system, or they're so used to having friends and all these people around them to kind of carry them through. But the volatility of these places is that people leave and come and go, or they become reliable and whatnot. And also in a different place where you don't have your local sport team and all of this stuff, sometimes you got to venture out on your own. Sometimes your friends are going to leave. You've got to go out on the town on your own. You got to spend a lot of time just chilling at home because you haven't, you're not living with your brother. And
But that
all
there's
of this
kind of a
stuff.
life force and energy behind having to do that stuff again. You know what I mean? Like you're on the razor's edge that we've spoken about on previous podcasts, where you're relying on you, yourself and I, and there is a powerful sort of energy in that as well. There's a lot of information in that place having to go out there on your own. It's not something to be necessarily
Of course.
scared of. It's something that's gonna lift you and make you bigger.
But like I think what Tamer was saying is like you need to know that, or at least be comfortable with that fact, or expect that it's gonna be you by yourself a lot, and that some people can't handle that part.
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
not going to be the real Cancun from start to finish. There's going to be a lot of parts in between and in the middle where you're just sort of on your own. Sometimes possibly crying yourself to sleep, going, "What the fuck have I done? And where am I in my life? And what kind of juncture am I at?" But yeah, cool, man.
Yeah, I think preparation is a pretty big one because you can definitely, jump on a plane and look at everything with pure optimism and rose-colored glasses and whatnot. But there are definitely going to be times that are going to be hard.
We've talked about the list of preparations that people don't necessarily expect to encounter in Antalya or living in a place like Turkey with a very different culture. And those are the kind of things that usually weed people out and send them home after a while.
Yeah, for sure.
So, mate, this is my opportunity to actually talk about some Australian contextual stuff as well while we've got you. But
cricket?
Brian's going to fucking walk out in a minute.
No.
Okay.
What, the cricket, the cheating in the cricket, the cheating in the cricket. You're going to talk about.
Well, it's a big deal. It's affected our whole nation.
I knew it.
If you could say something to Steve Smith right now about his performance on the field and what the Australian cricket team's done, what would you say?
I knew what was going on.
Yeah, you do. You've been on the podcast for long enough to know that we're going to talk about this. You thought you were going to skip it tonight, didn't you, you cunt?
I kind of heard about it, but I haven't dived too deep into it. But I think it's just stupid.
It is fucking
You
stupid.
just kind of see the transition from, say 10 years ago or even just a bit over 5 years ago when you had the solid, mature group of Australian cricketers, family guys and whatnot. And then as it's progressed into like the kind of younger new generation, they've showed a bit more less interest, or they're just a bit more selfish in the way that they go about things. And this kind of just like epitomizes what's been a pretty inconsistent few years of Australian cricket and the new transition, new generation, where I don't know, they just take a little less responsibility, and it's just a little careless, I reckon.
It's careless. It's really calls into question the legacy, shall I say, of Australian cricket and all the captains. I mean, it also calls into question how many times have they gotten away with it as well. You know what I mean? I mean, this time, shit, the guy Bancroft just fell short of pulling out a fucking belt sander and using that on the ball next time. You know what I mean? It was kind of pretty blatant, and yeah, I mean, how far does it go?
As an American, sorry, just to jump in while you guys can finish this up, but what I've read of this situation, which is a little bit, all right, just because I'm interested, because you guys are Australian, I want to be up on what goes on. Hasn't Australia always kind of prided itself in not being cheaters and kind of just being fair play and like
exactly.
that we win on
sheer
our sheer hard work and play
teamwork.
Yeah. So this is just a big
shit on the Anzac legend, mate. That's what it is.
Right.
But also, I think the funny part of this, to swing it back to a more neutral direction of the podcast, isn't it? It's a bit telling of Australia's culture and how much people have got to think about in the public consciousness if this is the biggest fucking problem in people's lives right now.
I was going to get to that.
Oh, I agree.
People are upset about this, but they can't be upset about the Aboriginals and whatever else.
No.
That doesn't get as much play as. That's not going to get to the heart of Australia where people are like up in arms about cricket. But
So I've got an Australian history story that I just want to quickly tell. Now, tell me why we don't learn about this in Australian history classes. Tamer, have you heard of the Batavia?
I've heard the word or the name, but I don't really know.
Do you know what it was?
Sounds like a boat.
Yeah, it was a boat.
It
Okay,
sounds like
great.
a boat. Yeah, when you say the.
This is the story, man. I just found this out the other day. Russell Crowe's just picked up this script about this movie. So it was in the 1600s, basically, these Portuguese or Dutch I think it was, this Dutch trading ship which discovered the sort of west coast of Australia was cruising through, and it went through a small atoll, which is just shortly off the coast of Western Australia somewhere, and it ran aground basically. And the boat sank, and all the people had to swim to this tiny little beach island, okay? And then what happened was the ship's captain went to built a makeshift boat, took the boat all the way to Jakarta, which is an amazing survival story just on its own.
Jakarta?
Yeah, out of makeshift bits and pieces from the broken up boat, okay, that sank and stuff like that. Anyway, the rest of the 300 survivors, some of them died swimming to this little sort of beach atoll, and it's not much bigger than, say, about 3 footy ovals, by the way. And this commander, this guy assumed command out of the 200 that were left, or 300 that were left, and him and 10 just roughheads, basically. His name was Cornelius or something like that. This is what he did, right?
What's a roughhead?
First of all...
What's a roughhead?
Just a tough guy, okay? All the strong men.
I was worried it was a
First of
racist
all,
term,
he was
sorry.
an absolute psychopath. He, ran around the island killing all of the alpha males and people that could challenge him for power. So he murdered 200 people,
He went
okay?
ape.
But he kept the women and children and set up rape tents for the next 4 months.
Well,
okay?
what else are you going to do with them?
Meanwhile, the guys, how's this, man? Set up fucking rape tents. What a fucking asshole, basically. So a couple of people tried to escape the beach atoll, and they went to a nearby place, basically, and they hid out there for a while and built a sort of stone fortress, okay?
Could've been a
Cornelius
rape tent.
found out about them. Cornelius found out about where they'd gone and went there to kill them all, but the guy who built the beach fortress had to go back and fight them, so they had this open battle with cutlasses and shit like that. People getting murdered, some woman who's been raped 500 times trying to kick some guy in the balls. Going on. And then the captain, who'd made this incredible which in its own right is an amazing story, this journey in a makeshift raft to fucking Jakarta, came back and was like, whoa, what the fuck is going on here? What in the actual fuck is happening here?
Guys, I go to Jakarta for a minute.
Just said, Cornelius, what the fuck? Why did you just kill everybody and rape everybody? You're an asshole. To take down the rape tents immediately. Good God, man. So they took him over and they basically sort of hung him. Before they hung him, of course, they cut off his hands,
So he
okay,
couldn't-
with a chisel and hammer.
Oof.
Yeah, imagine that, okay? And then they did that to the other perpetrators as well, and then hung them, and then all bailed back to, what do you call it? Netherlands.
Netherlands.
But apparently a couple of them escaped, and they escaped and they went to the mainland Western Australia, which in 1600 would have made these 3 guys the first white Australians that lived in Western Australia. And how do they know this story? Because there were reports of more traders that saw half-caste white and tanned-coloured people living with the indigenous people on the coastline of Western Australia. Why the fuck don't we learn about that in Australian history? Just asking
Oh
you.
yeah, that's an interesting
As a Western
one.
Australian, so Russell Crowe's found this
We're going to
script.
leave it to Russell Crowe. to
Russell's like,
explain it
oh
to us."
mate, that's fucking gold. We're going to make a movie out of that. And I just checked yesterday, and that is in the works. It's in production. There's a guy making a script for it. That's insane, though, man.
To be fair, I mean, it could have been just rape pits instead of rape tents. I mean, rape tents seems like a step up from a rape pit.
Well, I mean, Cornelius has probably done it before.
Cornelius!
He prefers rape tents, Brian.
You can't
Yeah.
say his name, just like he's Cornelius.
Yeah.
Cornelius!
Cornelius is a cunt. He's the first major white cunt in Australia. And those other guys that made it to mainland Australia are the first white cunts to be accepted and not killed and brought into Aboriginal religion before William Buckley. If that was being fucking happening in Australian history class, I would have sat the fuck up and standed up and,
Yeah.
you know what, this is awesome and I want to know more about this.
Tell me more of these rape
So
tents.
as a Western Australian, I just thought you might like to know that story about the Batavia.
Yeah, about your ancestors. No, just...
It's cool, man. You always drop Australian history bombs on me.
Do I? What was the last one I dropped on you?
I didn't know about Buckley either.
You didn't know about
until
William
we had a
Buckley?
conversation back
Well,
in
compared
Antalya.
to the Buckley story, that's nothing. Batavia is just like, that's amazing, man. So you're going to see that in cinemas in about 1 or 2 years, man, with Russell Crowe. Russell will probably be the fucking guy who comes back and just sorts it out.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on, cunts? I'm gonna fucking chop your hands off with a chisel and hammer. Mate, amazing. Anything else you'd like to discuss while you're with us, or do you just want to stay online while the rest of the podcast plays out, or what do you want to do, mate? We're offering you a choice to stay or go.
Should I stay?
I'll hang about and
You'll
just
hang
let
about.
you guys go on with your thing, and if I feel like
All
chiming
right,
in, then
just
I'll
make a coffee
start
and
yelling at you.
so what are you doing? Are you what time is it over there?
Right now it's 11 o'clock in the morning. At 1 o'clock I've got work,
okay.
so I'm just hanging out and having a coffee.
What a
Making
contrast.
breakfast.
We've had 8
What's a
whiskeys and
normal-
he's just having a coffee.
Yeah, what's a normal day in the life of Tamer now? Like, so 10 o'clock, rise. No, or no, you weren't.
Well, it changes every day because sometimes I'm on like a morning shift, sometimes an evening shift, sometimes a split shift where I do like 7:30 a.m. till 10 a.m. and then go back to work 4:30 p.m. till 9:30 p.m.
Okay.
Some of those days where I've got to split all the afternoon shift, I'll go up and hit the hill for a couple of hours and go snowboarding and then go to work. Otherwise, it's a bit of chill, stroll into work, which only takes about 5 minutes walk, and then just hang out and come home, make some dinner and watch some ice hockey and whatnot.
Sounds like what
when
you
it was
wanted.
colder, we'd go late night ice skating and knock the hockey puck around and stuff. But
Is it a bit better than the
transition,
Antalya ice skating rink? Just to ask.
I'm sure they must keep better care of that for sure.
Is it better than the ice skating rink that's in the city where it sometimes gets to 55 degrees?
Yeah.
We've got a few of them out here. We've got like a proper big.
Isn't every
NHL
pond
size,
a potential
indoor
ice skating
ice rink? But then we got outdoor ice rinks as well. One at the local high school where they turn the grass field into an ice rink that they maintain every day.
A grass field
cool.
into an ice rink. That's a cold place. When you can turn a grass field into an ice rink, it must be pretty cold.
It's going to turn this river of fire into an ice skating rink.
Yeah, we'll just turn this base of the volcano into an ice skating rink. Okay.
That won't be difficult. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it gets pretty cold over here. You got a few waterfalls and stuff like that are just frozen solid, frozen solid waterfalls. Yeah.
Like still right now as we
it's
speak.
Starting to thaw out now, but
starting to drip.
It does get pretty cold for a long time.
Yeah, man. Today might have been one of our first hot days here. Kind of like getting into it. Like someone's definitely turning the thermostat up.
Yeah.
I was sweating today in class, and so we're already. It's like it's short weather here if you wanted to. But also, I mean, Sebastian was skiing last week too, so you could do a bit of both.
Where was he skiing? Just like around Antalya?
I'm not sure, man. Sebastian has all these spots like figured out, man. Like he
does.
He's got these secret spots he just goes to.
Yeah.
But somewhere up beyond Gaekbeide or like on the way to Sakla-Kent, or he has his like different places, which that doesn't help anyone else on this podcast out except for you. Yeah.
Tamer, just while I got you on the podcast, how much do I still owe you for the snowboard? Was it 600 or?
Let's just square it away on the podcast.
I can't remember. What,
350.
350. All right, no worries, mate.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll get there.
Cheers, man.
Can you put me on a 3-year program? Is that?
That's
it's not in Canadian dollars, I hope.
That's what I get. What I expect.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, but so you did mention that you want to get a van and get it all fitted out. I don't know if I had any inspiration, gave you any inspiration for that, but you saw that I did get that van.
I did see that. I'm very proud of you for that one. That's a big step.
Buy
a van and load some money into that one in a place so expensive as Antalya to own and run a vehicle.
Well, I honestly, like, here's another thing. I do not drive it much at all. Like, I drive it maybe twice a week. I don't drive it to work because Tony drives me in. I drive it in maybe once a week. If I have my half day, I drive in. But on the weekends, I'll drive out. So far, we've camped in it just a couple times, just testing it out, trying to figure out. Because there's a lot of things to figure out, just trying to figure out how to organize it. When I go on the camping trips, how am I going to pack this and that, and what do we need, and what don't we need? That's another thing that's very important, is like not bringing shit that you don't need. But I mean, it's all set up, man. It's got refrigerator, which isn't that cold. I'm not that happy with it, but gas stove, but also a gas heater and stuff that blows like hot air that vents in from the outside, and two double beds and the pop top. So if you ever come back, if you and Noor come back to visit sometime, we'll go on a camp trip or something like that. That'd be a good idea.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, we found a place like 25 minutes away, Tamer, in Doiran, which it's a bit further than, that mountain breakfast place that we used to go to, which is magnificent.
Chocolat. It's out.
Yeah, just doing it for listeners know they don't need to know it's chocolat. And it was fucking amazing. There was like a man-made lake, and it was perfect. I mean, you saw the photos. It was fantastic. I'll whack a couple up on the YouTube thread if I have to figure out how to do it, because you're no longer in production anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was amazing. 25 minutes away and having access to that. But I guess that's what it's like living there 24/7 for you. That's you put yourself whack bang in the middle of where you want to be and having access to all that stuff really quickly. I think you said you're going boarding, sometimes twice a day? Is that right?
I go just during the day, just once, but I'll go for a few hours, and that's like between morning and afternoon shifts at work. So it's only, a real short bus ride, and I can be up on the hill and then just come back and go to work, or I can walk 5 minutes outside the front of our place, and we'll be walking either along a river or starting to hike up a mountain. So yeah, everything's walking distance away to full access. So it's pretty good.
You have a culture in Canada, if it's anything like the United States too, like where they have the mountains, they have the outdoor recreation, and they really take pride in it. There's a lot of people go hiking. The hiking trails and whatever else, the skiing trails are really well planned, and people have worked on them a lot. Whereas here in Turkey, we have all this nature here, but it's kind of wild. There's like the Lycian Trail, which is a very specific thing, but
which none of us have done.
Yeah.
And it's like in the top 10 walks in the world.
should definitely
We should definitely do that
pretty soon. But there isn't like every mountain has like the trail that goes up, or like all these trailheads and all these different things, and the maps are all perfect. There's like nothing. There's no information here for outdoors stuff.
No.
So I imagine where you are, it's just there's too much information.
Yeah, well, obviously, like here in summer when it's all good and it's warm and it's there's no snow and whatnot, you can just hike everywhere and it's got all the information. But even during winter here, you got the main ski resorts, but then there's also a heap of information about backcountry, cross country skiing. You can go out for a few days and stay out at these little huts that are out in the middle of nowhere, and you can hike up these mountains or go like cross country skiing on these like set routes that go around the river and lakes and stuff like that. And it's all on the Banff National Park website, and it's got the conditions and the best way to hike and what equipment you might need and everything like that. There's just so much information and so much infrastructure put around outdoor activity here, which is awesome.
Right. How's cost of doing those things? Do you find that it's affordable to do those things, or is it do you feel like you're living in an area that's kind of expensive or out of? You said you started to save some money, but so how do you feel about cost of living? Whereas here, we feel like cost of living is pretty easy. How is it over there?
It's not too bad because the earnings are right. When you're living here, specifically like in this town and other ones like Whistler and stuff like that, where it's a bit more of a seasonal kind of like big tourist town, you're going to be paying a fair bit of money to have a room in a shared house. You're not really going to have a 2-bedroom apartment for yourself. So that's where most of the quality of life and the money goes to. But apart from that, just having the access to the outdoors and everything just right next to you, you don't really need to own a car because you can just walk to the shops and stuff, or like jump on free shuttle bus to the ski hills and stuff. Makes it real easy to go hiking, even when it's winter and it's a bit icy and stuff like that. You pay $25 to get some like slip-on like rubber and metal things to go under your boots and stuff, and there you go winter hiking. It's free because you got the national park around you. The most expensive thing for sure, I get it for free through my job, but would be if you went skiing and snowboarding, you'd be paying a lot for lift tickets or a season pass, which if you got a season pass, it would be about $1,500 or $2,000.
That's always been the whole reason why I never got into skiing. Everyone's always surprised because I'm from upstate New York. I haven't skied ever in my life. I've done cross country skiing, but I've never done downhill skiing. That's some bourgeois. That's some bourgeois shit, man. That's what like. My parents would never pay for that. That's how I always felt. It was for like rich white people.
Do you feel like sort of where you're at the moment, you're going to have a consistent sort of influx of energy from what you're doing, and the lifestyle change up that you've had and the environmental change up that you've had? When do you see a point when you might need to sort of break out of that? And have you sort of started thinking about that, or are you just sort of more in the moment of how everything's going at the moment and paying attention to that?
I'm pretty good here at the moment because even though this kind of like winter's starting to wind down, I've already got quite a few different plans and things that I want to be doing all through the summer and even through next winter and stuff. That's going to progress what I'm doing at the moment. So this winter I've spent a lot of the time snowboarding and just getting good and familiarized and stuff. But all through summer I'm going to be doing a bunch of hikes, all the mountains around here. And then me and my mate are going to do like a 6-day backcountry hike where we pack everything in, pack everything out. And then next winter, I'm going to buy a split board, which is like cross-country skis that you turn the bindings and clip it back in to become a snowboard.
Shit, that sounds
so
pretty cool.
So we're going to be able to do some... Yeah, it's pretty cool. So next winter, we're going to be doing some backcountry
the bindings turn into a
like
snowboard? Am we picturing a transformer here? Or it's like, no, I understand.
The cross-country skis do.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so what will happen is, like, imagine your snowboard. You got a line that goes straight down the middle of your snowboard, and
so
you can
it's two
split
parts.
that apart into skis.
That's wow.
So,
I get it. Because your
that
feet will cross them and bind them together. Got it.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
Got it. My mind figured it out.
That's right. Nice,
Sounds good, man. Sounds exciting. So
good.
it's a rejuvenation of Tamer, huh?
definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'd have to say, mate, well done. You know what I mean? Like you took a very fucking big risk, and it's paid off for you. So that's that's all your hard work and planning that's gone into that. So you must be super relieved, and it must be just like a cool chapter to your story that now you're happy with it. You've corrected it, and it's got to mean a lot to you.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about making breakfast and leaving you guys to do the podcast. That way I've got something to listen to later on when you do the edits.
I've got one last question that I had written down for you, and you can, once again, it goes a bit deeper than just the surface level stuff, which has all been good so far. Do you sort of find that, because this is the same place that you were in last time in Canada in your last relationship, have you ever had a sense that you've revisited the same place, and obviously with a new beginning, with a new person? Is there any kind of, have you ever made any connections in your mind like that about, I guess, the last time this place worked for you or didn't work for you and how it's going this time?
No, well, the biggest difference is that last time when I lived here, I wasn't actually living up in Banff. I was living down in Calgary.
That's right.
In the middle of the city and doing the grind of walking between all the big buildings and business people. And
so this is a completely different experience.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much living in a place now which was just my weekend getaway where I'd come up and go snowboarding, and most of the time that was on my own. The difference I've found though is this time when I first moved to Canada, it was all like, oh wow, new and all of this new experiences. Whereas I come here now and I don't have any of that like kind of tingly wool kind of feeling. So I've come in like pretty level-headed, but then
less endorphins,
it's
less
just a completely
dopamine,
a completely different experience what I'm having now, living up in the mountains in a different place, different style of life, rather than just walking to and from work and just living in the city and the hustle and bustle. I'm hiking outdoors and doing all of this stuff. And it was only a few days ago was my first real time down in Calgary, and I took the missus down there. We went to the ice hockey and stuff. But apart from that, I haven't really stepped into or revisited any of the kind of life that I was living before in Canada. We're just living kind of external to it. So, yeah.
One of my favourite words from back in the day, it's a complete metamorphosis, Tamer, and it sounds like you've done it well, mate. All right, buddy, you go make yourself some eggs or some cereal or whatever the fuck it is that you eat over there.
Some brekkie. Make yourself some brekkie.
Some brekkie. We'll try and do this a bit more often. We'll let you know when the next one is and try and get you on for a bit of a chat. And you never know, mate. We might make it in your favour next time and do it at 6 o'clock in the morning so you can have a couple of cans. Or you can just man up and have a couple of cans. Cool, buddy. All right, mate. Good chatting to you. And let you go and we'll proceed with the podcast.
Cheers. Enjoy, guys.
All right, thank you, man.
Catch
Good
you later,
talking
man.
to you.
There we go.
That's good to hear.
Skype hookup.
Definitely good to hear.
Yeah.
See, we kind of figured that we hadn't seen him much on. We've talked about, when you see someone on Facebook a lot, liking a lot of things, commenting a lot of things.
Yeah.
Maybe something's not going right, but
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys where when I would see him show up a lot on my news feed, I was like, what's going on? Tamer's not good. And he was, at the end of his time here in Antalya, just. You'd see him just commenting on things from years ago.
That's definitely something that I've
I haven't
noticed.
seen him on. I haven't seen him on my newsfeed much at all. So I kind of figured that no news is good news.
No news is good news. I think no news feed is good news feed. I think, but it's interesting. Like I've thought about that myself in times in my life when things haven't been going so well. Maybe back in the day, I'd look to the externalities, or
you look to the past, and
I'd look at the amount of stuff I was posting on, or the types of things that I was posting on. I definitely think you can tell if somebody's having hit a pretty rough patch when they're posting a lot of bullshit on Facebook and social media.
Oh, right.
And
suddenly like 3 posts in a day. Like, oh shit! If I post 3 things in a day, either I'm
gonna pick up the phone, I'm gonna call you and be like, hey buddy, what's up? Like,
because I might post 3 things in a week. I use Facebook for the messaging, but I like some things from here and there. But I don't usually post to make large comments and.
Well, I mean, what are we really doing when we're posting something? Like, we're posting something we probably haven't read that much.
We're looking for acceptance.
We're looking for acceptance. We're looking for validation. We're looking for likes. It's the same deal when somebody puts an Instagram picture out there. But sometimes with Instagram, it's just art they want to share. You know what I mean? Like a good photo or something like that. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of these things are coming from a place of lacking something. So, yeah, obviously that suggests that he's in a better place.
Yeah, I think, from talking to him, sounds great.
But yeah.
Sounds fun to me. It sounded good, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, definitely, man. Which
I
means
wanna
we could do it too.
Yeah, anywhere. Yeah, come back and do that, and I still think I'm gonna keep that foothold here as much as I can.
I think it is special, and I think it's like something that would be good to get a perspective check, you know, and head out of here for a while, and you just appreciate it that much more. So going to Germany for you could be like, you've just taken a lot of things here for granted, you know what I mean? And we do spend a lot of this time sort of rubbing each other's dicks and sort of just saying, well, not literally, but sort of just saying confirmation bias and going, yep, this is a great place to live. Yes, this is a great place to live. Isn't it, Brian? Yes, it is, Tim.
Yes, it is, Tim.
Yes, it is, Tim.
Yep.
But I think...
aren't we so smart for coming here? Yes, we are. Aren't we? Haven't we done a great job? Yes. Oh my God.
And it is amazing, but I think you need challenges in your life every now and then as well. You know, you just can't rest on your laurels. So,
Oh, for sure.
you know.
But you know, then there's always the. It's like this cartoon that I remember
But do you
watching.
keep changing every place after a while? I mean, eventually at some stage in your life, you've got to
Well, I mean, like he said, you know,
kind of
whenever
stay
you,
put, don't you? Like
whenever you
don't
change,
have to, but
whenever you change a spot, I mean, there's a lot of cost that goes into that.
well, I think you said on a previous podcast at some point you can't just be the person that just jumps up and leaves every time. You know, going from place to place to place to place to place. You got to figure out
No,
where
it
it
sucks
is.
for a bit, yeah, because everyone's.
I'm not saying that Tamer's
Life
done
sucks.
that at all. I'm
No,
totally,
no,
that
no,
is
no.
not related to Tamer in whatsoever. But I'm just saying there comes a point where you've got to sort of be able to make the place that you're in work a little bit, unless it's
Right,
just
well,
a fucking
like,
shit place. You know what I
Stick
mean?
through some of the hardships for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, then again, I've got a couple of one or two friends that are considering leaving Melbourne at 35, 36.
Yeah, but
you know.
I'm sure-
you know, they're looking
I'm
for
sure-
adventure again. They just need to they need something
For them,
different,
it wasn't like-
something new.
It wasn't like their past month kind of sucks, so they're like, oh, I just want to leave. Like, I'm sure they're.
No, it's like a build up of 4
I'm
or
sure it's
5
a build
years.
of 4 or 5 years of kind of like average shit going on, where they're just kind of like, well, I don't feel like I'm really moving forward. I don't really feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like I could stay here for the rest of my life, but I also feel like I'm not. I can't speak for what they think. But it's not just a
okay.
snap decision to like, I'm going to move here and then live there for a year and then it doesn't work here. I'm going to go over there.
Yeah, which is a symptom of being an expat as well. Like, I mean, a lot of us don't necessarily. If you take the experience as an expat out too far.
Oh, you're on a long leash.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not always so easy to go back to your own country. In fact, maybe going back to your own country is the last fucking thing that you want to do. You know what I mean? Maybe the only thing that makes sense to you after you've broken that link with your country, because it won't mean the same to you in the same context ever again, is to move to another place. But I'm just saying that doesn't necessarily play out possibly in the right way for if you're thinking about having children
Well, as
or
long
thinking
as you're
about
willing
buying
to,
something.
as long as you're willing to change your idea when new information comes. Like when I first left the United
Right,
States to
exactly.
move to Ukraine, and then my plan was to move around every few years and go back to the United States. I probably talked about this on a previous podcast, but
Probably.
the more you end up in a situation and then things happen and then suddenly you decide and you go a direction and you kind of stick with it, even though it was hard. It wasn't always easy to be here in Turkey. I thought about leaving sometimes too, but I stuck through some hard times, and then I found like amazing times after that. You know, you
Yeah,
stick through a hard
yeah.
time, then all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, this is like so much better.
Weather the storm.
Yeah, and then you get
yeah.
another storm. Storms are going to keep happening throughout life. That's just normal. You know, go with the stoicism.
Yeah, but
type
some
of-
storms are optional. Some storms are definitely optional.
Oh, for
and
sure.
Some
And
storms are
I
definitely
think those-
self-created storms, and there's definitely situational storms as well.
Well, those people that run away from the storm every time, they're just going to find another one someplace else to run away from. They're just going to keep bing, 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 bing running around. They're not going to know what it is.
That's kind of it.
They're not going to know what it is to weather a storm.
So by doing this, are we just sort of buying short-term tickets to freedom and happiness, but, you know, we have to continue that process? Or is it just a process of breaking what you're doing and then opening up with a different dialogue and relationship with a new place and having new insights,
I don't know. I mean, 'cause
uploading that new information, like you said, and then using that information?
I always thought that I'd end up back in the United States. And right now, it's like the last thing that I'd ever think of doing. I see that as not being a choice at all. My retirement plan as of now would be to stay here. I'm
Makes
open.
sense. Makes sense to me
It makes
too.
sense for me for right now. But I'm open for that to change as things change and evolve. Maybe the U.S. at some point will end up being an attractive position to go to again. Maybe Turkey will end up being shit and, we got to go someplace else. Maybe fucking Bolivia will end up being, you know, I don't think that there should be any limit on what or where you think you can go and what you can do. I don't think.
No.
I mean, you should be reasonable. I mean, you can't do, like, I can't become a pilot now. Like, that'd be retarded.
I think you could.
I could, but it would be kind of dumb. You know,
might
it's
be a
like pretty
shit
a
pilot,
bit
but
late.
yeah,
Bit late.
Just fly with Pegasus, just fly a plane off the runway, which happened in the news about 2 months ago. That's all right.
Right.
There's a guy that did that, so you can be a pilot, I think. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's got to come together your own way, and it's different for each and every person for their own, you know, particular set of circumstances. That's an obvious thing to say, but it kind of is true. For me, the future would be Turkey. But again, like, we don't know. Next door, the war in Syria, that could happen by the end of the week.
Right.
We don't know that. We don't know what's going to happen.
I told you the other day, like, I had this visceral, like, thought in my mind because I just, like, saw this thing. It was like a video. It was like a Vice News thing about Japan, you know, building up their army for the first time since World War II. And all of a sudden, in my mind, I was just like, shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
World War III is right around the corner, possibly. You know, like North Korea or whatever, China trade wars, Pacific, and China trying to control the Pacific, and Africa, and then we got Syria and all this. I'm like, dude, we could fucking suddenly go off a cliff.
Yeah.
And it could end up being like, you know, World War I, World War II, all over again. What's my life going to be? What am I going to do if that happens? Like, if I have to just uproot.
But it wouldn't just affect you, it'd be affecting millions of other people who
Oh,
with
for
the
sure.
same idea as us.
What if we became a refugee, you know?
Well, we could all become climate refugees,
I'll live in
quite
a van.
possibly in the next 50 years.
I've
You
got
don't
a
know.
van, at least.
Not a climate refugee. It's just like if Antalya temperature goes up another 8 degrees.
Antalya's pretty good. You're up on a cliff. Your cliff, this is at least 100 meters off the water, at least
Oh, I'm
60
sweet.
meters.
This
Yeah,
house
you
is
guys
good
fine.
until
Yeah, you guys are good.
2045, I think. Yeah.
Coney Alta might be a little bit. I'm up high enough.
Yeah.
But we're not going to be bad here. It's going to be places like Miami.
Miami
super
is
populated
fucked.
places.
I think
Louisiana.
most of England would be fucked. I don't know that. I'd have to fact check
Most
that,
of
but
southeastern United States is going to be underwater. You know,
Yeah,
at some point. And that's just a.
Tasmania might be underwater, but they can fuck off anyway.
I can imagine Amsterdam, Venice. You know, all these coastal places.
Just all these island atolls. Like, think about all the Pacific Ocean, sort of, you know, off the coast of Australia.
But how many
Polynesian
cities
islands.
we live in an area though? How many ancient cities do we have that've been abandoned and
Yeah,
just moved
I'm
on?
about to go visit one this weekend with my family. It's the sunken city of Kekover, ancient Lycian city. Those people thought they were balling when they were creating those fucking tombs.
Think about Termessos up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Or Espendos, Paragate. Like
I'm
all
looking
these.
at a pair of steps that are going up to a tomb, but they put those steps so high above the cities. Those weren't steps to get to the city, the ones that are above water. Those are the steps to get to the high-ass tombs.
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
thought, well, this will never happen to us. Well, guess what? Now there's fucking boats cruising across the top, and we're staring down through a glass window going, oh, fuck, look at those pots on the ground. That could be us. It's happened before. Exactly.
No, it is going to happen. I mean, some of these cities are going to have to collapse, and then we're going to have ancient ruins of these shitty concrete buildings that we have.
Ancient
and
ruins of
stuff.
Tim's house.
Yeah.
It's this podcasting microphone underwater that's been collecting
Happened pretty quick.
barnacles and shit all over it. That could happen too. Yeah.
I mean, it will happen. You think about. Yeah.
But don't you think this is one of those like sort of romantic ideas for people that, you know, that the end of days is coming, or the, you know, look at the environment, look at the state of Syria, look at what happened with North Korea at the time. Everybody thought that was going to turn into a world war. It just didn't. These are attractive ideas. People who were conspiracy theorists, I think, and me being an avid conspiracy theorist back in the day, I think these are attractive ideas to people who aren't operating that well in the now.
Yeah, I think it's
Haven't
fun.
got a good relationship with where they're at. Maybe they're kind of looking for reasons or excuses in some way as to why their life's not working.
Well, I think
or...
I've always looked at a lot of conspiracy theories, and I hate the word conspiracy theory too, because it doesn't mean, like, using the word conspiracy theory.
It's a theory that
sounds
isn't popular.
like
That's-
yeah. It sounds like a write-off. So, like, to call something a conspiracy theory, it's like, oh, it's bullshit. But you know what? Not all of them are. We all just need to really learn where our information is coming from. But I think some of those narratives that can go pretty far down a rabbit hole, some of those conspiracy theories, in quotes, I'm putting my fingers up in quotes, they sound really attractive because they read like kind of science fiction novels, or they read like, you know, there's some guys writing some really interesting stuff, and they draw these connections that end up, if you really look at them, they're just drawing connections of things that don't really connect. But, you know, I think they just read really well, and some people really are attracted to that idea that they know something that other people don't. Like the mainstream media, which I agree, mainstream media is fucked.
It sets them apart from other normal, boring people. Yeah.
I don't think that mainstream media is completely lying to us. I think that there's plenty of mainstream media that journalists don't get into a job to report on bullshit. I think there are a lot of journalists that really do want to report good news.
I'm sure there is, and there's certainly a lot of limitations on what those good reporters probably can and cannot do these days.
Right.
Some of them get jobs and some of them don't. Some of them
Exactly.
have to do certain things to stay in jobs. Yeah, you're right in talking about how information's completely changed and where we get our information from. I think more and more people think that this is one big conspiracy, or it's a conspiracy
the
in the
whole
sense
thing, yeah.
that nobody knows what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? Less and less people are paying attention to the media these days.
Because it's too much?
It's become too, it's colluded and too difficult and murky to understand. And the amount
there's
of
too
time
much
that you have to
information. The news cycle now is 24 hours every fucking
Which, if you were a power
hour.
to be that didn't want people to actually get down to facts and
You
understand
just give them too much.
that would work.
Yeah, exactly.
That would
You
work.
just vomit information at where you have to just fucking. You're like batting information away from your face.
This is what I said earlier.
What's
about,
real? What's not? It doesn't. You don't have enough time to figure out.
No, we don't have enough time as it is. Like, the life is going quicker and quicker and faster and faster. People don't have enough time to engage in these issues, which is why a lot of shady deals are done, you know, at the stroke of midnight when people aren't looking. And that's
Congress
how
loves
it
to
gets
meet
done.
at like 5 in the morning on like.
People don't know what the fuck's going on. We've spoken about it before, the misinformation, disinformation paradigm. But if it was a conspiracy, it's definitely working.
Oh, for sure.
People can't get hold of know what they think they know about it anymore. It's all just an opinion that could be wrong, and so people would rather not have the conversation because they don't have all the facts.
There is
which is most of what this podcast is about.
Right.
Hello. Buell.
Bueller.
Anyway, that's wrapped it up. We're looking forward to trying to fucking do this a bit more regularly. We got the Skype thing figured out. So if you would like to be on this podcast, if you were actually listening to this and you've got a couple of things that you want to talk about, I know there's a few of you that left Antalya that you tune in every now and then. And there's a couple of boys back in Australia. I know that I've got a couple of people that were definitely interested. Richie, shout out to you. Scotty Smalls, you're definitely going to have some shit to talk about.
If you made it this far through.
Moving to South America, big ups to you.
Wow.
You know, Alex, any of you guys, okay? We can do this. We can have you on the show. So drop some comments. Let us know that you're out there. Otherwise, we're just going to live in our own world of bullshit where it's we think
Where
there's a lot
we
of people-
always win.
Yeah, and you lose. You lose. All right, Brian.